Okay. I am Rodrigue, and I am CEO of Midlothian Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our 2021 legislative series. We're glad you have joined us for this first luncheon in the series, where we will be discussing Ellis County growth and development. At this time, I'd like to ask Casey Cheshire to come forward. He will offer the invocation and blessing of the food we are enjoying. Casey is the Community Relations and Volunteer Coordinator for Methodist Midlothian. Casey.
All right, y'all join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this afternoon, first praising your name and thanking you for always being present in our lives. We thank you for the many blessings that we have experienced throughout Midlothian and the county. As we talk about growth and development in the region, we are thankful that you have provided these opportunities for us and that you equipped our panel speakers to perform their duties for our community. Lord, we thank you for the wonderful meal prepared for us today and the hands that have prepared it. We thank you for the chamber staff who prepared for today's conversation as well. We also thank you for our elected officials, business professionals, nonprofits, community leaders, and volunteers who are here today. Continue to give each of us wisdom, insight, and discernment as we serve and lead in our respective circles. You've instructed each of us to love one another as you have loved us. You ask your help in being a light in every place that you've given each of us to walk. Lift up our community today. We lift up Ellis County. We lift up our country. We ask that you surround this country and cover us with your mighty hand. We pray for unity in our land, that in spite of our differences, we would be willing to stand strong together and to live out our days with compassion and grace. We ask that no weapon formed against us will prosper, and that you avert the attacks of the enemy hurled our way. We thank you that you are rich in mercy and full of grace. Thank you that you are forgiving and merciful. Thank you that you are strong and mighty. And thank you that you are for us and that you fight for us still today. Lord, we love you, and we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Great prayer. Thank you, Casey. Hey, what's the deal? All right. We are honored to have several elected officials and dignitaries with us today, and it is my pleasure to introduce them. As each name is read, I will ask them to stand. We will ask the audience to hold your applause until all of these special guests have been introduced. I will start with Ellis County, our very own County Judge Todd Little and County Commissioner Paul Perry, who will be speaking later today. Our Mayor of Midlothian and several City Council members. If the City Council will also please stand. Thank you. That's it. There's the standing part. And then the City of Bovilla, we have Doug Hunt, who's a council member. Did I miss any elected officials? Thank you. We thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of this area. I would also like to thank my Legislative Affairs Committee for assisting me in organizing this year's legislative series. Those volunteers are our Chairman, Ross Weaver, Donna Crimmins-Bonnell, Doug Hunt, and Andrea Walton. It's also my great pleasure to publicly thank the Chamber's key volunteers and leaders. If you're on the Chamber's Board of Directors or an ambassador, will you please stand? And I'd like my Legislative Affairs Committee to please stand also. Thank you. As we have learned, the Chamber succeeds by offering the best possible customer services, resources, and information to you, our members. Please help me thank your Chamber staff. They are Judy Bates, your Membership Director, who is probably out in the foyer. Mary Beth Bartlett, your Special Events Manager. Where's Mary Beth? Who put on an awesome awards party last week. And then the new person on our team is Miranda DeLay, our Social Media Manager, back in the back. Thank my staff very much. And last but not least, today's event would not be possible without our sponsors. Our presenting sponsors are Buckley Oil and Atmos Energy. To both of these organizations, we thank you for your support of the Chamber and our 2021 legislative series. I would also like to thank our VIP community partners, Martin Marietta, Linebarger Goggin Blair, and Sampson LLP. And then finally, I'd like for you to thank our corporate partners, the City of Midlothian and Methodist Midlothian Medical Center. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Now, this morning, I told Ross yesterday, I don't ever print the script until right before I walk out the door, because inevitably there will be changes. Isn't that right? And what do we do with change? We are leaders. We adjust. So this morning I got an email from Ross who said someone he had been with has tested positive for COVID. He's now quarantining. So he said, you don't want me there. So Ross is on your program, but is not here today. And I'm honored that standing in, playing the part of Ross Weaver today, is our former state representative, John Ray, the owner of Town Square Title. Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Laura, and bear with me. I found out about 3 minutes ago that I'll be filling in for Ross, so there could be a few bumps in the road here. I'll just warn you. So on behalf of all of us here today, and the residents of Ellis County, thank you all very much for providing this moment for this important update. Our community is fortunate to have such dedicated and highly qualified professionals working to improve and strengthen the economic growth of our region. Before we draw for door prizes, I'd like...
That's at the end.
Oh, sorry. We'll skip to that at the end. There's the first bump in the road. All right. Did you want me to mention the coming up events?
So that's the very end.
Got it. Okay, we are going to move into our panel discussion, and I first, you want me to introduce the panelists? Laura, thank you. So if the panelists would please come up here, if you're ready, if you've had a chance to finish your meals, I will be happy to introduce them. We have, of course, on our panel today, we have County Judge Todd Little, Commissioner Paul Perry. We have the Registered or Chief Appraiser for Ellis Appraisal District, that's Kathy Rodrigue. And then we have Alberto Morris, our Director of Development for Ellis County, Director of Planning and Development for Ellis County. Thank you guys, come on up. All right, everyone, thank you. So first I'd like to introduce our County Judge Todd Little. Judge Todd Little is the third generation of Ellis County. He was elected by the residents of Ellis County as County Judge in 2018. He's a graduate of Baylor University with a degree in financial planning. Todd has served as the board president of Hope Clinic, a community-based nonprofit health center. He was a trustee of Meals on Wheels of Johnson and Ellis counties, and a delegate for Ellis County to the convention of the Republican Party of Texas. Todd has served as mayor of Red Oak, Texas from 2000 to 2006. He currently lives in Red Oak with his wife Dawn and 3 children, managing his family's small business. I'm going to introduce our panelists and then they'll each have a chance to speak as well. Next, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Paul Perry. Commissioner Perry is a 7th generation Texan who grew up wandering his family's rural Midlothian property, going fishing, hunting rabbits, dove, and quail, and taking care of cattle and horses. After graduating from Midlothian High School, he attended Baylor University. That's 2 Baylor grads in a row. He attended Baylor University on an academic scholarship. Commissioner Perry earned a BBA with a concentration in risk management, which led him to a job in investments management after graduation. Paul has served the Midlothian area as an Ellis County Justice of the Peace in the 1990s and began working as a mediator and arbitrator. In 2013, he re-entered public service as Ellis County Commissioner for Precinct 3. He is active in the community, serving as an ex officio member of the Midlothian Chamber of Commerce and as a member of Rodrigue and the Optimist Club. Paul met Rebecca at Baylor. They married in 1982 and have raised 8 children. Next, I would like to introduce Kathy Rodrigue. Kathy is a registered professional appraiser who has 42 years of service in the ad valorem tax field. She started with the McAllen Tax Office, and later, while attending Abilene Christian University, she joined the Taylor County Appraisal District. From there, she moved to the State Property Tax Board and in 1989 joined the Ellis Appraisal District. She became the Chief Appraiser for Ellis County in 1997. She is a member of the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts, the International Association of Assessing Officers, and Treasurer of the Metro Council of Appraisal Districts. She is currently the President of the Waxahachie Lions Club, past Chair of the Promise Child Development Center. She is married to Durant, and they have 2 children and 1 grandchild. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Alberto Martis. Alberto is currently serving as the Director of Planning and Development for Ellis County. He graduated from Texas A&M with a Bachelor of Environmental Design and received his Master's in City and Regional Planning from UT Arlington. He began his career as a planning intern for the City of Arlington, then joined the City of Midlothian in 2003, where he worked for 13 years as a planner, planning manager, and twice as interim planning director. In 2017, Alberto became the Ellis County Director of Planning and Development. Working with the county judge and county commissioner's court, he has spearheaded projects and updated plans to manage the expected growth, such as the 2019 Thoroughfare Plan, development regulations, interlocal agreements, and technology to streamline the development review process. Alberto has a passion for service in his church, including as elder, deacon, and small group leader. He loves sports, biking, softball, and spending time with his wife Raquel, his 3 adult stepchildren, and 5 nieces and nephews. So please welcome our panel. I'm especially excited to hear about this topic because you just cannot drive around our county without seeing all the new rooftops that are occurring everywhere, all the new folks moving in. It's really an exciting time for Ellis County, so I think we're going to hear some interesting and very, very timely information today. We'd first like to ask each speaker to take up to 5 minutes to give us a little bit of background on how you fit in the process of county government, and just to give us any thoughts that you would like to share. So first we'd like to start with Judge Little.
Thank you, John. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here this morning, and I want to say this: you're brave feeding me barbecue before I serve on a panel. That's tough sometimes. I ate half of it, and I'll go back, eat the other half in a minute. First of all, it's exciting times in Ellis County. It's an honor to serve you as your county judge. County judge means a lot of different things. You know, in the last couple of years, nobody really knew who a county judge was until COVID, right? So I think we all know what the county judge does as it relates to emergency management. Unfortunately, that takes up a lot. That has taken up a lot of my time over the last couple of years. But I think we've done a great job with our emergency management team, and obviously the City of Midlothian has a great emergency management team as well, who helped us completely facilitate this vaccine hub that we had, where we vaccinated almost 82,000 citizens in Ellis County with at least 1 dose. So I want to thank all our medical personnel and emergency management for helping us do that. As a county judge, you know, one of my responsibilities statutorily is the chief budget officer. The chief budget officer is the guy that takes the maintenance and operations tax, the INS, the interest and sinking fund. We put it all together with the farm to market funds, and we prepare a budget. The budget is a policy statement on what we are trying to accomplish for our citizens and our constituents. So I'm out on the street every day learning about what you tell me is important. I take that into Commissioner's Court, and then as part of the policy statement, Commissioner Perry and all the commissioners join me in a pretty lengthy, transparent budget process. We started that back in May, and we will conclude that around the 14th of September and have our budget ready for the fiscal 22 year. So I think this year our budget will be roughly around $70 million. And in Ellis County, there's about 84,000 different tracts of land that we are receiving some type of revenue on. And that is you, the taxpayers. And it's obviously is a couple of other things that I'm responsible for is managing departments. We have our DOD, we have our emergency management, we have our elections division. The county judge is responsible for signing a lot of the documents that create an election that then go to the Secretary of State. So that's a job that I didn't actually realize. One of the things that I did not know about is that whenever there is a death in the county, and there is someone that does not have a next of kin. One of the things the county judge does is I sign the document that releases the body from the funeral home. So you think about all the things that you think a county judge does. One of the things that I didn't know is that I was going to release bodies from the funeral home so they could be buried in either a pauper burial or cremated, because there's no next of kin. We can't find them. Now, statutory law says that there's a certain number of days that goes by before we can do that kind of thing. So we abide by the law. Other things that the county judge does, such as mass gatherings. Any events that happen in the county that are not in your cities, like Mayor Reno, for example, if he had an event of over 2,500 people, he would have the ability to approve that as a local official, similar to any of his COVID protocols that he put in for the city of Midlothian. That's something that a mayor does. Outside of the municipal government, the county judge hears mass gathering permits. So we approve those things if they're over 2,500. One of the things that is personal to me as it relates to Midlothian is everybody has seen The Chosen, that film. Well, they filmed that here at Camp Hopkinsville right in the middle of the COVID protocols. So they did a very good job in their mass gathering permit. They brought in their professional teams and said, here's how we're going to mitigate the spread of COVID while we're filming. Judge, we'd like for you to consider us as an option to actually film this right here in Ellis County. So when you figure out that we started out with an unemployment rate last May of 5,000 people, as of this week, we had 450 people unemployed due to COVID. So over the last year, we've actually changed and done a really good job of getting our economy back and rolling, and with the help from Commissioner Perry and the Commissioner's Court, we do as good a job as we know how to do to keep our economy rolling. And John, thank you for that.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Now we'll hear from Commissioner Perry.
Can y'all hear me? Is the mic working? Can anyone hear me? Yes. Okay. All right. But evidently the mic's got to be close. Right? It's a COVID mic. Many of y'all know me. I actually am a proud graduate of Midlothian High School, and I've seen some great changes in Midlothian, and they're accelerating. One thing that we struggle with as a county, and I know that Midlothian struggles with, is to make sure that we cooperate, have a good welcome mat out for our industry, which provides us an uncommonly good and diverse tax base versus other communities and counties like us. It is imperative those people continue to function here, to my way of thinking, and I think they have the support of the community based upon my interaction with the community. We have folks living in who enjoy the lifestyle, enjoy the small town atmosphere here, which you seek to maintain while you grow, and that enjoy Ellis County in general. You know, my precinct goes all the way from about where we are right now, goes up to Northridge, believe it or not, and then goes all the way down to Milford, and Italy, and Maypearl, and I touch Navarra, Hill, and Hill County, and almost go to Dallas County. I see a very diverse, and we'll call them clientele, because I look upon taxpayers as my customers. I think as a county, we have to be careful that we are welcoming and balance the very diverse population that we have in this county now. And I don't mean diverse in the way that CNN might mean it. I mean diverse as a matter of interest, as a matter of culture. And we see this every day, and you realtors especially see it every day. If you're out in the country and you've got somebody moving in from California or Frisco, and all of a sudden they want to move in the country, sometimes there's a cultural conflict, right? Well, what I do for a living, part of what I do for a living is management. I have to manage expectations based upon the tax revenue we are willing to use to deal with our infrastructure issues. We are making strides in spite of higher costs to provide better roads better bridges, better service to an increasing population. We are working hard with the engineering department. Every now and then we need to give them a little push to make sure that we don't allow in the county the kind of subdivision, concrete, and structure that we've seen in the past, and ultimately as a taxpayer, because all of you pay county taxes, that you will get to pay for if we allow substandard development out there. I think it is important to the city of Midlothian that we require the best in roads and new subdivisions, because you don't want to be surrounded by something that is less than what you yourself are allowing in the city of Midlothian. It doesn't make sense. As we go forward, and the judge is right, the Commissioner's Court approves the budgets. The Commissioner's Court approves the tax rate. I've voted for some budgets. I've not voted for other budgets. Because everything that the county does comes down a little bit on each commissioner as well as the county judge. We're elected in the precinct, but we have county-wide responsibilities for every regulation, every tax, and almost every department in this county goes to the Commissioner's Court. It's one reason we call it Commissioner's Court. It goes to the county judge. We don't call it County Judge's Court. We have ongoing responsibilities. We act as a board of directors. We also operate as managers of our own road and bridge district up to our own financial limitations. And those limitations are imposed upon us by Commissioner's Court as well. You know, rest assured, I'm not up for election. This is not a campaign speech. I squeeze every nickel I can to make sure that y'all get the best return for every tax dollar spent. And and you all know this if you're in business, because I've been in business most of my life. I've written my own paycheck most of my life. You don't always have the money you want to do everything, but you can always pick something to do well. And that's what I try to get done as a county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And we'll now hear from our Chief Appraiser, Kathy Rodrigue.
Well, you know, we start this off by hearing my resume that says I've been in this business for 42 years, and I can't even find a way to make that sound good. Because, you know, you start something in your life when you're 19 that you don't anticipate that you're going to be doing for the rest of your career. But I have stayed in public service because I think it's imperative that those of us who are in service to the property owners, to the folks that we are here to reach out to and provide services to, it's imperative that we function as good stewards and be more sensitive to the way money is spent than private industry does. So efficiency is a huge thing to me, that we function that way. You have all seen my name at the bottom of your appraisal notice every year, and I want to let you know that I am not evil. I do not ride on the broom, but I would be happy to tell you some of the things that we do to try to make this process, the appraisal process, better. And to do that, I need to do a little bit of history with you to let you understand the way that it was before appraisal districts were created. Many of you were not born yet. There are a few of us in the room that have been around for that whole time. But before appraisal districts were created by the legislature, every school district, every city, every county, and every other taxing unit in the county, all across the state of Texas, did their own appraisals. They did their own mapping. They did their own tax rate calculations. They did their own tax rate adoption processes. And back in those days, there was an assessment ratio that made things even less clear than what they currently are. And the legislature, because they do fund part of the school district function, said we need uniformity. we need to have one value for all properties across the state of Texas that is mandated by law to be at 100% of market value and equally and uniformly appraised. And that became the charge to appraisal districts. We really just have those two functions to make sure that we are at market value and that the values are equal and uniform. The appraisal district does not adopt tax rates. We don't propose tax rates. That's the responsibility of the taxing units. And it's a huge responsibility. But those functions are completely separate so that you can have a voice at both junctures in the process. You can have a voice when it comes time when you get your appraisal notice and you look at what the value is. This last year was the first year that we removed the estimated taxes from the appraisal notice. And that was something that was legislated by Senate Bill 2 in the previous legislative session. And the legislature wanted property owners to be able to focus on what is my value worth? What is my property worth? And to focus on that exclusively away from the threat of what the tax implication was going to be. Because it is important that your property be appraised accurately. And so we were very grateful for the opportunity for the first time this year to really have some very good conversations with property owners that didn't include my taxes are too high, which the appraisal district has absolutely no control over because we are the equal and uniform distribution of it only. And so we're pleased to be able to serve you in that way. I know we will probably have lots of questions that will come forward to me. And I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity to speak and answer those questions for you. Because it's important that you understand the difference between the roles that exist and how important each role is. The county government, the city government, school districts, everybody has a role. And the only one more thing that I'll add to this is that in addition to the fact that it's mandated by law, the appraisal district is also tested by the state to make sure that we stay in compliance with the mandates of the Constitution. And the school districts feel the implication of that if we are not doing our job well. So that's it. I'll be happy to go into more detail about that if you're interested. But we're definitely here to serve and be accurate. We are not by any way motivated to have values higher or lower than what market indicates.
Thank you, Kathy. We want to now hear from Alberto Maris, our County Director of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon. I manage one of the departments that reports directly to the Commissioner's Court, the Department of Development. I have a staff of 10 people. We basically, our area of responsibility is about 750 square miles. So you can imagine, our resources are a little bit scarce, but we definitely do the best that we can. Just to kind of give you an idea, Singapore, which is obviously a country in Asia, their square mileage is about 720. So we basically run the size, I guess, of Singapore, for example. And just for comparison's sake, Midlothian has a square mileage of like 65, 66 square miles or so. So, like I said, we manage as best as we can. Obviously, one of the biggest areas that differs from the city and county is counties can only do things that the state says that we can do, versus the cities can do everything the state says they cannot do. One of the biggest functions that the county cannot do is zoning, and that is probably a majority of the calls that I receive from citizens. I can't believe you allowed my neighbor to put up a mechanic shop. I can't believe you allowed my neighbor to put up a wedding venue. And so I have to kind of educate the citizens to say, well, there is no zoning in the county. By law, once they met our regulations, we have to approve the permit. So it takes a little bit of education, educating the citizens to know what the difference is. And a lot of them want us to apply the regulations to their neighbors, but not to themselves.
Thank you, Alberto. Okay, we do have a few questions for the panel that have been prepared. If we have additional time at the end, we will take a few from the audience. The first question is for Judge Little. Judge, what lessons did you learn over the past 18 months that will help our county government function more efficiently moving forward?
I think one of the most important things that I've learned over the last 18 months is that have consideration and grace for our community members, our partners. And we've all made tough decisions in the last 18 months. These are sometimes decisions that we don't want to make, but they're decisions that are weighty. They're heavy. I got elected in January of 19 is when I took office. In February was my first phone call with the President of the United States, the Governor, and the Vice President, and the Health and Human Services. The very first phone call was January, February. They said, guys, we're going to be rolling out what we call Operation Warp Speed. And this was all about the vaccine and everything. Well, we didn't really know what COVID was until the President discontinued air travel from Wuhan, China, somewhere around the 1st of December or late January of 19 and 20. So we didn't really know what we were getting into. We knew what physical disasters were. We know what floods and tornadoes do. But in my lifetime, at 52 years old, I've never even experienced a pandemic. I've heard of the vaccine for polio, and I've heard of the vaccine for all of these things like bacterial meningitis. I've never heard of COVID-19 until 18 months ago, 2 years. So I think consideration and patience and understanding for our common citizens, our neighbors, and our friends.
Thank you, Judge. Our next question will be for Commissioner Berry. Commissioner, what are the highest priority roadway projects on the horizon for the next 12 months?
Well, we have what we call road and bridge season, which has been abbreviated this year due to a lot of moisture in the spring and early summer. We are currently working on Singleton Road, which is going to be one of our larger projects. We're going to be doing some work on Botham Road. We have shifted a lot of our work this year up into the Maypearl, I call it South Midlothian, that area. And so we're going to be doing some upgrades to those roads using a little bit different material and some stabilizers. And those are going to be our priorities for the fall. And if y'all say a prayer with me that we extend this dry spell for a while, then perhaps we can go a little further. That would be our priority. It's in our road priority plan with the county to work on those particular roads. We'll be doing some supported work on Campbell Road, which we've already completed most of that, and we'll be doing some supportive work down into Oak Branch, that kind of thing too. This corridor on the west side of the county is going to have to absorb more of our tax dollars. And whether it's me, someone else, or Commissioner Butler and his part of it, we're going to have to wake up and understand where the real growth is occurring in this county and where our tax revenue comes from. And that needs to be served. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that that area is served. Not because I'm from here, but because it's the right thing to do. Because otherwise you're going to end up with a suburban mess. And I'm not going to let that happen. Not without jumping up and down on the soapbox. And I think we can avoid it. I think we're all partners here, and we can all make sure that happens because it's important for the good of this county. Now we are, for the next 2 road cycles, not that we're not going to work down around Italy, and we're not going to work in Forest, which are also parts of my precinct, and important parts, because they're growing too. But we're going to be putting more and more of our resources into what I like to call the Maypearl Midlothian corridor, the unincorporated part. And I also think it's imperative that we get some new concrete road testing, pre-work done before we approve the developments, and that would have a very beneficial effect long-term to you, the taxpayer, because of maintenance issues that we can avoid by stiffening our, not just what we're requiring, but stiffening our testing and our soil evaluation before our requirements go in place. Because we have new requirements. But it's time we wake up and smell the coffee and realize, and I hate to overuse the term, but we're going to use some science, one way or another. I'd ask y'all to help us get that done, because that needs to get through the engineer, we need to get some testing, and we need to have some parameters and some what stabilizations will require those developers in those areas.
Thank you, Paul. I will next hear from our Chief Appraiser, Kathy Rodrigue. Kathy, not to pick on you, but I have two questions for you. I'll start with the first one. With soaring valuations, what does the average Ellis County citizen need to know about their ad valorem taxes, exemptions, and valuation protesting? That's a pretty complex one. Feel free to peel it.
So do you have about the 45 minutes? Let me see if I can encapsulate that information. Absolutely. What's making this market change is the first thing that we've got to recognize. We have people that are moving here that are looking at our market and going, really? I can pay $300,000 for something we would think was worth, what, maybe $200,000? And I can pay that, and I can really get this 1,500 square foot or 1,700 square foot house. We have people coming in that do not know our market, and that is becoming our market. What we do about that is try to educate people, of course, but everybody that puts a piece of property on the market right now, you can talk to any realtor. I mean, it doesn't stay on the market if it even makes it to the market, because so many people are looking for property right now that this is if you have something that's under $250,000, it's going to get snatched up, really, regardless of what kind of condition it's in. We're seeing mobile homes on a half acre that are bringing over $100 a square foot without hesitation. And we can't control what's going on in the market because people have found us. You know, the growth in Collin County, the growth in Denton County, you know, they have discovered Ellis County, and they're coming. And we're not going to be able to slow that level of growth or what it's doing to our market. I know I've talked to people recently, and it's like, you know, what are we going to do? And the answer is, we've got to do, the appraisal district has got to follow the market. Just like when prices go up, we have to follow the market. When the market ultimately will, some point in the future, decline a little. I don't think it'll decline a lot, because we're just in a situation where this is what we're facing. The secret to this is the exemptions that are there. We want you to have every single exemption that you're entitled to. Homestead exemption is the biggest one that's available. There's still a couple of local optional exemptions that your taxing units offer that some of the other taxing units don't offer. So that's a huge benefit to you if you're in the Midlothian area. We want you to be aware and avail yourself of anything that is available legally, and the legislature is always looking for changes to help with that. So that's one thing that's there. The biggest issue, and I think that Todd and Paul both just recently addressed this, is we've got to fund things. We've got to fund development. We've got to provide for roads. We've got to provide for police and fire and the jail system. There are immeasurable amount of expenses out there within the cities. People like parks. We like amenities. We like those things to happen. That cannot happen without money. And the cost of everything, as Paul mentioned, is escalating. And so everybody's working to be good stewards of that. But as values go up, it becomes important for the taxing units to look at reducing the tax rate commensurately if they can. And I know that everyone in this room that is a public servant takes that very seriously. But that's the only way that we're going to have taxes actually be lower, because the market is going to continue to escalate. So it's going to have to be the change in the tax rate itself coming down. And as you guys get this, as values go up, tax rates can come down. That's how you keep it level. But with the growth that we're experiencing and things that have been deferred or not addressed, those are challenging things for the taxing units, and I completely understand that. One of the things that a lot of times people think the appraisal district is with the county. We're not. We're completely independent of all the taxing units. We are.
Thanks for clearing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that is something that we need to understand, is we're not motivated one way or another to have values be high or low, but it is our job to reflect that. And it is a huge challenge to the taxing units. There is a new website that's out there. It was out there last year. You're going to be receiving August 7th a little postcard that has the county drawn on it, with all the different jurisdictions drawn on it. And there is on that postcard, there is instructions on how to get to the website that is ellistaxes.com, where you can look and see what your taxing units are proposing for their tax rates. You can look at the worksheets that they have used to develop the calculations. You can look at all of the budget information. There's references to their websites out there that you can go to. And you pull your property up, and you can look at every single jurisdiction that's related to your property and have an opportunity to see that. That's something that the legislature did again with Senate Bill 2 in the last legislative session. So you have more opportunity. You also have the ability to give them feedback about the tax rates, about their budgets. So there's more of an opportunity without you having to go to a meeting for you to be involved in the process. So, but the one thing that I will share with you about the appraisal district is, if you don't believe your property is worth what we've got a value for, we want you to protest. We do, because if we've got a problem, we want to fix it. Unfortunately, the vast majority of us are victims to what's going on in this marketplace. And that is, it's running away from us. So, was that question one?
That was question one. And you were actually spot on in the second part of your answer, because you began to touch upon the second part.
Yes.
So you may want to expound a little more. I don't know, maybe you covered it all, but the second question is, what steps are being taken by the Ellis Appraisal District Office to make it more user-friendly? And I think in particular, the question is seeking online resources. You mentioned Ellis County, taxes.com, perhaps any other resources regarding the property tax process, the protest process, etc.
Right, okay, so dealing with the appeals process, this last year, for the first time, we actually had a way for the property owners to go and register their protest online and set up an informal appointment with an appraiser. That was something that was a huge stride for us this last year. We're in the middle of a software conversion to help our staff make life more user-friendly. We want to be able to communicate with you. We've got a website that has lots and lots of information on it. Most everybody that's in the real estate industry uses our website as a point of reference. We want to hear from you, whether you need to file a protest online or by email or however you need to communicate with us. We want to hear from you. But the tax part of it, again, that's the ellistaxes.com that provides that. And then this is the season when taxing entities are doing their tax rate calculations, and they are looking at their budgets. They have to adopt a budget, and then then adopt a tax rate that will fund that budget. And that's all based, the way that that's distributed is based on the values that the appraisal district comes up with. And just for a little bit of information on this, from last year to this year, the taxable value, and this is at the county level, we've got 43 taxing jurisdictions between all the cities and the schools and the emergency service districts, municipal management districts, etc. But at the county level, from last year to this year, the taxable value last year was $19.4 billion. This year it was $21.5 billion in 1 year. And of that increase in value, $949.2 billion of that was new value. And that's the taxable side of it. The market is more than that. Our market value from last year to this year, and that's on existing as well as new property, went up 11.39%. 11.39%. And I'd love to say that that's not going to happen again next year. But I'm not an elected official. Some people want this position to be elected, but as you can well understand, the legislature has had the wisdom to say who could get reelected if they ever served before and did their job. So.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate your comments. We'll now hear from our County Development Director, Alberto Morris. Alberto, we know you're on the pointy tip of the spear when it comes to what's coming down the pike. So I have 2 questions for you as well. And we know you have kind of the longest range vision on these things, even though some of the projects you're probably looking at never come to fruition. But the first question I have is, what are the projections for new lot deliveries and new home starts, which we're hoping you can your septic and driveway permits might give you some insight into that over the next 12 months and 24 months.
Okay. Well, growth is already here. Every day, we get a lot of inquiries to our department. There's vacant land, I want to develop here, what are the regulations? Based off of our number of lots that are, I guess, in review right now, we have about 1,300 that are somewhere in the review process right now. And of course, in the county, you have minimum 1 acre lots due to septic. This does not include any of these special districts that are coming down the pipeline, these municipal utility districts, MMDs, all these other type of districts that are coming into the county. They want to develop just outside of the city limits, I'm assuming for marketing purposes, but at the same time, they still want to have that same density that is not inside the city. So you have to go through the process through the state to kind of get that process started. But I think over the next 12 months, there's about 1,300 lots that are somewhere in the pipeline getting approved. And one thing our department is trying to do is try to streamline that process from setting up pre-application meetings. That way the applicants know ahead of time what the regulations are. We've recently started implemented a new website for our departments. It's because it's a lot easier. The current website provider that we have doesn't allow us the tools that we need to kind of get information out there more easily. Our new department website is ellispermits.com. And that's just strictly for our department, and we do have access to all that information on there. Currently, based on just internal projections, I believe at the beginning of the year, COG had us at just under 206,810 at the beginning of the year. Now, I guess up to the end of the second quarter, we had just under 210,000. Using that conservative approach, I guess up to the year 2050, we're expected to grow to just a little bit over 500,000 people. And of course, like I said, this doesn't include the larger type developments that we're expecting, but it kind of gives you an idea that the growth is already here. What's attracting people to this area? I think it's the location. Especially here in Midlothian, for example, you're 30 minutes to downtown Dallas, downtown Fort Worth, the DFW airport. Waxahachie, it's a little bit further, but still within driving distance. You have school districts that are ranked in the top 20% across the whole state. I believe Midlothian, Waxahachie, and Ennis, like I said, they're all ranked like in the top 20% of school districts in the entire state. I believe there's about 1,020 school districts in the entire state. So all these factors are contributing to that growth that's coming to the county. Parents want their kids in the best schools. The county is the county has a lot of school districts here that they can pick from.
Thank you, Alberto. And those are really eye-popping numbers. We better get ready. The second question relates to that. What areas of the county are growing the fastest, and are we able to keep up with roadway infrastructure to support the new growth? I'll let you comment on that. I think it'd probably be appropriate to let the judge and commissioner comment on that as well. So please give us your thoughts.
Okay, I always like to tell people that Ellis County is basically two counties in one. Most of the growth is occurring west of 35. Everything east of 35 is either slow growth, or just starting to pick up right now. But I would say everything west of 35 is basically predominantly growth corridor here in the county. As far as for roads and other infrastructure improvements, back in 2019, with the help of the Commissioner's Court, we adopted a new thoroughfare plan. We did involve all the other cities as well as part of that thoroughfare plan update. Midlothian updated theirs in 2018. I want to say Waxahachie, I believe they're either in the process or about to start their process as well. Ennis is undergoing their thoroughfare plan update as well. As the development comes in, we are requiring the right-of-way dedication for those future roads. Judge, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
I think I would concur with Alberto. If you look at really kind of the triangle from Red Oak to Waxahachie and then over to the west side of the county on Midlothian, when you look at business growth and you compare that to residential growth, I mean, right now we've got 3 mud districts that are somewhere, either municipal management district or mud districts, that are somewhere in that Black Champ area and Walnut Grove area. Those neighborhoods are going to be 3,000 to 5,000 lots per project. You're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 acres there. I'm talking to another developer that I just heard from this week that's going to be kind of south of the Oaks Fellowship down to about Sterrett Road. That's going to be 1,500 to 2,000 homes right there west of 35. So I think you're seeing that growth in those areas. Not that it's not happening countywide, because we've had some huge developments over in the Ennis side as well, with the new Fresh Pet project, and then all the way on the west side of the county. You look at what's happening here in Midlothian, with Midlothian Business Park, with SunOpta Grains and Foods, and then you look at Sunrider and the things that are happening in the railport across the street of Google. It's just growth everywhere. And I think from a county judge standpoint, I think the question that we all have to be asking, and I'm just like you, I go home every day, I sit there, I think about what's happening, I sit there and I watch my Netflix, and the reality is what's happening in the urban areas with the politics of what's going on in those high traffic, high density areas, people are wanting that 1 acre lot, that 3/4 acre lot, that ½ acre lot, and they want a pool in the neighborhood. So when you look at what I grew up on, which was about 800 acres of land in Red Oak in 1970, I've got 1 acre left. You're talking about what is the culture going to be like in Ellis County in 20 years. I think every citizen I talk to, they're concerned about, Judge, can we keep that small town atmosphere? Do we have the road infrastructure? Do we have the ability to maintain the quality of life that we all have today? And I think that's the big question and the big elephant in the room, is that as commissioners, we have a limited government, right? But our goal is to provide freedom, personal responsibility, and drive the highest value for you as citizens as possible. And that is going to be what do we want the Ellis County culture to be in 20 years.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioner Perry, would you like to comment on the areas of fastest growth and whether the county is able to keep up with the roadway infrastructure?
Well, I don't want to make it sound like the rest of the county is not growing, because I watched the flow of deals referring to things that we have to approve. And I see it coming through all over the county. I've seen some things in the northeastern part of the county recently that surprised me. But that corridor has been open a long time, and it only makes sense you're going to have some development over there, and we're getting it. However, what I see and what concerns me, and the reason I brought up concrete and testing and making sure we're getting the biggest bang for your taxpayer buck, that we're not setting ourselves up for failure down the road, is we all know the elephant in the room, and I supported it because I thought it was the right thing, especially given some of the history in the county with annexations, was annexation reform. Now what we have is we have areas that Midlothian will not be able to annex easily, Waxahachie will not be able to annex easily, so they are dependent on the county for the foreseeable future for their infrastructure. We have always jealously guarded a low tax rate in this county, and I'm continuing to do that at the county level. But we're going to have to think innovatively, and we're going to have to pass on the cost of some of that growth to the people that are making the profits off of it. I'm very pro-free enterprise, that's no secret. But at the same time, the cost of development needs to be borne more by the developer. This is not a threat. I'm not anti-development, nor am I for superfluous regulation. But that cost is going to have to be borne more by the developer and not by the taxpayer down the road. Now, we provide a lot for our money taxpayer-wise. We provide some regulation. We provide law enforcement. We provide courts. Every court in the county at the trial court level is somewhat financed by your county. Some more, some less, some a little bit by the state, some less. Your jail is financed largely by the county. Your sheriff's department is financed largely by the county. The jailers, which are under the sheriff's command, financed by the county. Every municipality benefits from that. I once had a gentleman say, well, what do I get for my county tax dollars? And I said, well, your criminals are kept off the streets. Well, what do you mean? And I told him about that. And I said, now, I can call the sheriff, and I was joking, of course, this is a joke. And I said, we can drop off a few criminals on your front lawn if you'd like to. Oh, no, don't want that, right? Well, it was a hyperbole, and it was a way to make a point. We serve the county at large, but our development issues are where they're going to be, and right now they're on the west side of the county. And annexation reform puts the onus on us to find the most cost-effective manner we can in order to let you, the taxpayer, pay reasonable taxes going forward to finance the services that those folks are going to need. And that's where I'm focused. And as far as where I'm seeing it, based on even on what I see going through court, it's west I-35 right now. That's where the locust development is. And it's a lot of residential development coming our way. Some of it in the cities, a lot of it in the county. And that in the county needs our special consideration. And we do not need to set taxpayers up for higher taxes and failure going forward, because that will not help economic growth, in my opinion. That will suppress economic growth. We have to look long term, and we have to hold people responsible. And, development, we can't stop it, nor is it desirable to, in my opinion. We're going to have to go forward. We're just going to have to think about how the costs are shared.
Thank you, Paul. I was hoping we'd have a chance to have a few questions from the audience, but we're actually out of time. We want to respect your time and wrap the meeting up at 5 minutes to 1 so that you can get back to your jobs. I want to thank the panel today. This was extremely informative. Of course, the series continues next Wednesday. I'm excited to hear more after the good information we got today. These are all good, hardworking public servants. They're very transparent. They're very easy to contact and communicate with. So if you do have questions, please reach out to them. I know they'd be happy to visit with you. So thank you all. I'll turn it back over to Laura. I did read a little bit ahead on her script earlier, so she'll probably repeat some of what I said.
But I'll sound so different that it will be like you haven't heard it before. So on behalf of everyone here today, the residents of Ellis County, thank you very much to our presenters today. Of course, we didn't have enough time to really dig as deep as all of us would like, but does anybody else gasp at the 500,000 number? I was over there going, oh my gosh, Ellis County? Oh, we gotta prepare ourselves, guys. Okay, we're gonna draw for door prizes. So if there's Judy. If you haven't put your business card in there, you cannot win. Let me call your attention to a couple of things on the program. Next Wednesday, August 11th, 1 week from today, we're going to focus still on Ellis County. But guess what growth brings with it, you guys? It also brings crime, violence, neglect, and we have to make sure that we continue to have a wonderful county, and part of that is keeping on top of our criminal justice system. I hope you will come back next week. We will hear from our district judge, Cindy Ermatinger, our county and district attorney, Ann Montgomery. We will hear from our sheriff, Brad Norman, and then to really drill down deep, our assistant chief here at Midlothian Police Department, Scott Brown, will be here. You will not want to miss it. Our registration number is still low, so I think you weren't aware of it. So please get registered. We want to have a good conversation with them about criminal justice in Ellis County. It matters to all of us. It's not just our tax rate that's important, right? Okay. September 8th, we have just announced our first annual First Responders Appreciation Luncheon. We will honor our local law enforcement, firefighters, dispatchers, and EMS at that event. On September 11th, the Downtown Business Association is going to present a Heritage Day celebration. They're going to offer a free barbecue meal, the first 2,000 people who arrive. We'll also honor those who died 20 years ago, and those who continue to serve and protect and defend our communities and our country. Ready for door prizes? Right. Oh, I almost forgot. I have two friends named Aaron Cox. One of them is here in town, and one of them lives down in Austin. And the friend from Austin has traveled here to join us today to make a very quick special presentation. Aaron, will you please come forward?
Well, thank you all for having me for just a few minutes here, and for allowing me to what I think I realized is show up on the wrong day. But I think as I come to you today, there are a couple of things that really stand out. One of the judges said a second ago that as you all are looking toward the future, you're asking questions like, what are we going to be? Who are we going to be? Can we keep the small town feel that we have had? So first, I want to commend each of you for being here and taking part in conversations like that. I didn't mention I work for the Texas Association of Business, which is our state chamber of commerce. I also serve at an organization and I'm the executive director of the Texas Chamber of Commerce Executives, which is a professional association for Laura and her colleagues across the state. But I commend you all on being here and having those questions. I commend our elected officials for leading. But I think standing in the middle of that, and the reason I'm so happy to see all of you, is the chamber. The chamber is the place where we can come and we can discuss those issues and we can help to guide, because I can assure you that none of them up here would say, would they have all the answers? I'm sure we all have a lot of suggestions, and I don't think that we need to try to rely on them 100%, but we all can't just come with complaints, right? And so in the middle of that is where we partner with them to affect change, and that is the chamber. And as we look at your chamber and this chamber and the leadership that you have, it's my honor to stand here, because one of the things that we do statewide is we recognize tenure. And I think tenure goes beyond just showing how long you can last in a profession or in a place. Particularly in the chamber industry, it demonstrates a passion and a commitment that you don't see everywhere. It demonstrates a love of community, a love of people, and a desire to make where you are the best place to live, work, and play. And I'm excited today to announce to you all who did not know, and to present this small token to Ms. Laura Terhune for 25 years of service in the chamber industry.
So I was supposed to be receiving that award last summer, at the 2020 annual conference of the Texas Chamber of Commerce Executives. And Aaron, you are a week early, but it's okay. I appreciate you being here, and thank you for driving up here to honor us. I'm glad we were having a luncheon today. So, okay, now, door prizes? She thinks I'm going to forget. I'm not going to forget. I got my script. All right. The first one is a nice set of cross pins from Methodist Midlothian. And that winner is Sean Ropta. Takes care of my eyeballs. Takes care of Judy's eyeballs. And Sean, just so you know, Mary Beth has an appointment later today. So, take good care of her. Her eyeballs are important to us too. Oh yeah. Okay. Next is winning what? Oh, this is a portfolio from Texas Ace. Really nice. This one is Leslie Dean from the Ellis County Children's Advocacy Center. And then Michelle donated a second portfolio, and this one is going to go to, oh, I like the feel of this card. Who bent it? David Hutt. Got it all bent up, so it's felt different from the others. Okay, thank you again. All right, thanks again to our presenting sponsors, Jason at Buckley Oil and Al Hernandez, who couldn't be with us here from Atmos Energy. Kudos to our community partners, that is Martin Marietta, Lineberger, Doggin, Blair, and Sampson, who let me sit with them today. Thanks finally to our corporate partners. They are the City of Midlothian and Methodist Midlothian Medical Center. We appreciate all of you for attending today's event. Hope we will see you 1 week from today at the Criminal Justice Luncheon. Thanks and have a great day.